I'm going to make no apologies for how brilliant today's conversation is going to be. All will be revealed and all will make sense in just a moment. Lucy Nichol, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Now, the reason that I say I make no apologies is because we are going to be talking about this whole idea. It's based on your brilliant book. This whole idea of women, we so instinctively, instantly, without thought, apologize before we do anything. Now, when obviously we've known of each other for years now, but when this book came into my consciousness and my awareness, I was like, I need to read that and I need to share this because it is something that I don't think we even recognize that we do. So let's kick off with, where did you get the idea to actually write a book about the fact that women over apologize every second of every day?
Well, interestingly, it was actually a conversation with my publisher and my agent. We were talking about, how can what can I write about that's going to be so relatable to everybody? And my editor came up with this idea that women apologize too much, and she said, "Does that hit you?" And I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, that's me. That is me, 100%." And so I thought I'm gonna try and write something that kind of epitomizes how women apologize too much. And I was sitting in bed one night and I thought, right, what's the worst thing that I've apologized for? And I'll use a little bit of, real life experience. So the first scene I wrote, which isn't the first scene of the book, but the first scene that I wrote was a smear test scene where the main character, who is nothing like me, but this is based on my experience, because I did in fact apologize for the position of my cervix. And I thought, do you know what? That is literally apologizing for being a woman. So I thought, one, a smear test scene, you can have so much fun with that, because the things that go through our heads when we're in those rooms, legs akimbo, but also it was coming from a real place. And when I mentioned it to friends, quite a few of them said the same. Oh my God, I've apologised in a smear test as well. Have you?
I've apologized. Can I tell you a really funny story? I'd forgotten about this. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever said this publicly. Right. Popped along from a smear test like you do. This was years ago, many years ago. And it was a young male doctor. And so the nurse was in there at the same time. So, there's a little bit of, well, it's a bit embarrassing, but okay, there's a doctor, it's fine. I hadn't had kids yet. So by the time you have kids, you're like, whatever, because 1,000 people have had a rummage and checked you out. And also I've had lots of gynecological problems through my life. So I've had numerous operations and laparoscopies and this sort of thing. But at this stage, I hadn't quite gone that far. So anyway, young male doctor. And I could tell he was really nervous. And I don't think he'd done many before, because he kept going, right, like this. And the nurse and I were kind of looking at each other. She was a sort of, probably, I say older lady, she's probably my age now. Anyway, you do the thing, suit position. And then they put the thing in and they do the test. And then, the bit where, viewers of a delicate disposition may want to close their ears now, but they put the glove on and then they put their fingers in and then they kind of press up and they're pressing on your tummy at the same time, and does that hurt, does that hurt, does that hurt? So uncomfortable. I started laughing and I'm trying really hard not to laugh. Now, anyone that knows, when you laugh, your muscles tense, and my muscles tensed so hard his fingers got stuck, and he kept saying, Miss McLean, please stop laughing. And I was going, I'm so sorry. And he couldn't get his fingers out because I mean, clearly this is before children, because that would not be a problem now. But it clamped so hard. And he was going, Miss McLean, will you stop? And I'm howling by this point going, I'm so sorry. He yanked so far, the glove stayed in. There, howling, laughing, with her glove hanging out, and the nurse, she's bent double, and in the end he just kind of ran out the room and left me there, and she sort of went, like this. And I was like, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Anyway, we had a good old laugh and off I popped. So there we are. If only
Oh,
we'd met before, you could have put that in your book.
that made me cry.
It's terrible.
I didn't
No, I know.
get going with that. That is just genius. And I really wish we had had that conversation before because it would have gone in the book.
I know.
Amazing.
There we are. Okay. So, yes, this whole idea that we instantly apologize. So that was what, kicked it off in terms of it was the first scene that you ever wrote. How did you draw out from that in order to come up with the rest of the book?
Well, I think it's, we think about if we think about when we apologize, and I think it's really hard to acknowledge it because, like we're saying, we do it so naturally. It just comes out. It comes out
Yeah.
instead of sometimes, just
Yeah.
sorry. It's just, excuse me, you say sorry. So I had to really think hard about all the day-to-day situations in which I might say sorry. So, I was thinking about, well, I'm gonna go shopping to the supermarket. I'm going to try really hard not to say sorry, and I couldn't do it. So if somebody was like hogging the cheese aisle and I wanted to get to the halloumi, sounds so middle class, don't I? But and they were there for a long time and I was waiting patiently, I would then say, sorry, could I just, and you start reflecting on it thinking, hang on, why am I apologizing here? Why can I not just confidently say, excuse me? And if somebody like walks past you in the street and knocks into you, you say sorry to them. It's somebody.
Automatically.
Yeah. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, well, I say I don't know where it comes from. When I started writing the book, I started unraveling a lot. I started writing the main character, Charlotte, who is about 29. And the book is set present day. But I started writing some of her childhood and teenage diaries to try to understand where this over apologetic nature would come from. And that was very interesting. But I mean, so there were so many scenarios that I came up with, somebody spills a drink over her. Sorry. She's covered in espresso martini in a new white shirt, but she's apologizing to the person who's done it. So I came up with all of the different scenarios, and then I just ended up going on this wild, crazy trip. I mean, it's a little bit farcical in terms of, if you think about Bridget Jones, like Bridget Jones is not, the most realistic. Those things are never going to happen, those crazy haphazard things that happen in Bridget Jones, but it's funny. And in writing the story, I ended up taking the character on a ridiculous journey. Another pivotal scene after she's had the smear test and the nurse says to her, Charlotte, never apologise for being a woman. She then sits on the metro and finds herself sitting next to a manspreader. And I thought, how is she going to deal with this? So I thought, well, she's got to respond quite, dramatically, because she's had this build up for 29 years. She's realised she apologises all the time. And this moment, she's going to deal with it. So, and I'm not giving too much away here, but she stands up and she screams at him. But of course, it's a rom-com, so I had to put something else there. He's fit. She fancies the pants off him. So I was basically just putting more and more kind of obstacles in her way, when she's decided I'm never saying sorry again. What types of things might get in the way, and how will she come to the realization that it's not actually about never saying sorry again? It's about only using it when we mean it. Because if we overuse it, we're not doing ourselves any favors. We're kind of giving people an excuse to either be rude to us or disregard us or say no to us. So that was the kind of theme that ran through. I won't go into too much of the plot because obviously there's spoilers and things, but yeah, just this idea that she's not saying sorry again, it just ends up taking her on this ridiculous, fun, wild journey.
And it's fun, and it is fun and silly, as every good rom-com is. But at the heart of it really is a powerful truth. And
Mm.
the powerful truth is that on a day by day, sometimes minute by minute basis, women hand their power over to other people. And I'm not saying it's a male female thing, as in women hand their power over to men. They just do it to everybody. They
Yeah.
automatically do this. And I'm interested in terms of, you said you went back and built up almost like a case for her through her teenage diaries. Did you do any kind of research in terms of what is it about, particularly the female psyche, where we're driven, perhaps from little girls, maybe it's from our parents, maybe it's from experiences where we've had where people haven't liked it, where we've been too loud or been too confident or whatever. And we learn that actually our protective shell is to make ourselves small, dim our light, because really that's what apologizing is,
Yeah.
in order to path smoothly through this world. Because as
Yeah.
women, we are navigating waters that men will never really understand, because we are trying to navigate our path as smoothly as possibly. And there's micro habits that we inhibit, that we do every day without thinking, that it's handing over power so that we can continue to move forward. And it might seem backwards, but that's actually what we're doing. Did you look into that in any way?
Yeah, so there's various things that I had a look at. I ordered some magazines from the early 2000s, so that I could have a look at so women's magazines, so I could have a look at what kind of features were in there. And of course, we're told we need to look a certain way, be a certain way. And when you look at
how to bag a boy, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, but more importantly, what keeps coming up, or what kept coming up, and I do think this has definitely shifted in recent years, but a lot around how to please your man in bed, how to keep your man. And so that got me thinking. And I think it was the prologue that I wrote, where she and her boyfriend broke up, and her mum's saying, oh, well, you need to do this to get him back. And she's like, hang on a minute, I don't want to get him back. And then I think a mum leaves her a copy of a women's magazine under the door with a post-it note in, which is how to get your man back. And she's like, but I don't want it. Why are people assuming that I want him back? Why can't I make a decision that this is a boyfriend I don't want? So she's a teenager then. But then I go back further, and there was a writer called Kate who a few years ago, the Standard Issue podcast actually shared a thread that she'd written about. She'd gone out into like Primark and various other clothes shops, and she was looking at the girls section and the boys section, and took pictures of the different t-shirt slogans. And in the boys section, you had icon, adventurer, be cool, and and in the girls section, be kind, gratitude always, be nice, positive vibes only, all this kind of thing. And so that again reinforced that from a very, very young age, we are encouraged to be nice and polite and grateful, whereas boys are encouraged to be the go-getters. So is there any wonder we sometimes get that imposter syndrome feeling when we're going for that promotion, or when we want to speak out about something, because we've been told from a very young age to just be nice and be kind, which is a horrible word. I think we should ban it.
Interesting. I like the word nice, because my mum hates it. We have conversations about, oh, Andrea, no, nice it's a nothing word. It doesn't mean anything. Whereas I think it does. I think it's been misused, as in it has connotations of being bland and nothing. But actually, I'm nice, and I'm really proud of the fact that I'm nice. And to be nice is an umbrella term for, kind and tolerant and that sort of thing. But I also know that I'm strong and fierce and capable. But it's almost like an iron glove wrapped in velvet. There's strength there, but it still can be soft on the outside. And to me, nice is like it's like a bubble wrap term that means all of those things.
I think it's balance, isn't it? I think
it's always balance.
We need to be kind adventurers or nice icons,
Yes,
maybe.
I do. I agree with you. And I also think that in terms of, the male-female dynamic, and hopefully that's something that has shifted over the past few years or so, that actually stop giving people their ideas in terms of whatever your stereotypes are. Just be what you are.
Yeah.
Be whatever you want to be. And surely we are all a mixture of all the things. I can be kind, but I can also be really impatient. I can be absolutely laid back, but I can also be rude. We are all the things. The
Mm.
problem is that I think as women, we feel that if we are ever less than, then it is so much worse. And we have so much more to apologize for.
Yeah.
And we also have a problem with, I think, asking for what is, like I say about the cheese, asking rather than just saying excuse me. We do it all the time, but in emails, asking for something that we are perfectly entitled to, whether it's customer service. You email someone, sorry to bother you, but actually, that thing that I bought that I paid £1 billion for, it doesn't work. Sorry to trouble you, but do you think I could have another one? That kind of thing. We're
Yeah.
fully
Yeah.
entitled to ask for
Yeah.
whatever.
And I think that's where the no worries if not comes from, doesn't it?
It does, and I love that hook.
I haven't used it since I started writing the book. That is, I can't say I haven't apologised. And I think as well, it's recognising that we apologise in so many different ways, not just with the S word. We apologise through things like no worries if not, and just through the way we are, with the way we behave, and how we kind of go, whether or not we feel able to go out and get what we want, I suppose, and what we need. But the no worries if not thing, I'd noticed while I was writing it that, a friend would invite me to do something nice, like, do you want to go and see this show and get a few drinks after? No worries if not. And you're like, you've just asked me to do something lovely with you, a great person who I love spending time with, and you've put the get out clause. And so you realise that we do it in every single context. It's not just a work email, it's a text to a mate. And I have tried really hard. I have to be honest, I think even before writing this book, there were times when I was quite conscious of, not advocating for myself. And I remember going with a friend who had come to stay with me in Newcastle, and we went to a coffee shop, got some lunch, and I had the most horrific chicken pasta. And I thought, I can't eat this. It's that bad. It is that bad. And when I called the waiter over, I thought, I'm not going to apologise for this. And I'm not going to make up an excuse. I'm going to say it as it is. And I said, I have to tell you, this meal is really horrible. I said, it feels like you've just put some boiled pasta, a tin of tomatoes and some processed chicken in a bowl, and this is not good. And the response was lovely, actually. I was, I got a very respectful response. I got my money back for that part of the meal, and I felt really good about myself. It's quite empowering because I said what I thought, as opposed to trying really hard to think about somebody else's feelings over my own, which I think we do too much of. It's not about being rude, but it is about advocating for ourselves, isn't it?
That is such a brilliant analogy, because I would, as you were speaking, I was thinking, what would I do? And I know 100% that I would go, hi, really sorry about this, but actually this doesn't taste very nice. It's probably me. I know I'm probably a bit fancy pants or whatever, but I'm really sorry. Do you think maybe I could have something else with it?
Yeah.
Don't worry at all. If not, that's how I would have done it. So,
Yeah.
but then I'd have gone home thinking, well, at least I said something. Did I? I didn't really.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's the thing. We see it as a big leap when we try to acknowledge something. I mean, and don't get me wrong, that's an example where I'm really proud of. But my God, I say sorry all the time when I'm complaining about stuff. I really do. And I'm trying hard to recognise it. But I think us just having this conversation,
Yeah.
hopefully, and anyone listening, we can all reflect on How we're,
times that, yeah, that we do it.
yeah.
And so when obviously, you know, the book comes to a wonderful resolution, what sort of tips or hacks can you give to anyone watching or listening to this, in terms of if they've listened to our conversation and they've realized, oh my goodness, I do that. What were there any little mind tricks that you use where, do you know what, when I would automatically say no worries if not, or sorry I'm late getting back to you, whatever we automatically do, that you would flip it, that there's a phrase that you would use or a term that you would use?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know that there is a flip side to no worries if not. For me, it was just a case of
Take it
do
out.
not use it. That phrase is banned from your vocabulary. And I realised that when I was sending emails, I felt so much more confident and I felt so much more worthy of a positive response
Yeah.
because I wasn't giving people a get out clause. So I would just say, you know, and as I explore in the book, I really don't think it's about never apologising. I think it's about looking at those really needless apologies that we make and thinking about how we make them. Because, like we say, it's not just about saying sorry, it can be about saying no worries if not, or like you said, it's probably me. There's a whole thing I think where she's on a really bad date in the book, and there's that it's not you, it's me. When that isn't the case, we're kind of, you know, we say we don't want to see someone again, but it's not you, it's me. It's not me, it's you. Oh, I can't
No,
get
it is
very
me. It's not you, it's
yeah,
me.
it's
Yeah.
not you, it's me. That's the one. So we blame ourselves in every way, and that's another form of apologising. So I think it's just taking one example. We can't just stop apologising or change how we are
Mm.
wholesale, but just taking one example, like one phrase that we want rid of, and just give ourselves a ban and think about what is it that we really mean and what do we really want when we send this email. Because if we really want people to say no to us or to reject our idea, then yeah, put no worries if not. But if we don't,
Yeah, don't do it.
remove the get out clause.
Do you know what I think is so powerful about this is the simplicity of it, because it's if really we are such creatures of habit, and psychologically, you know, we're built in a way that our brain likes to go, okay, that's the thing that I automatically do, so I can go on automatic pilot and I don't need to think about it, and the reason I do it is because it makes me feel comfortable. Okay,
Mm.
so now I'm going to shift things a little bit and do something that is different. I think if we acknowledge, I'm going to feel uncomfortable doing this because it's different to how I did it before, my brain is going to react to, know, what are you doing? That's not how we do things. That's all right, brain. Calm down. I'm just trying something new. It's going to feel a bit weird for a while, and then you're going to get used to it because this is going to be a new way of doing things. Okay? And hopefully, maybe I'm the only one that has conversations with my brain. You know, your brain will go, all right, okay. I'm feeling a bit strange about this, and then almost treat it like the, you know, the blue car analogy or the yellow car analogy, that every time, or you know, like if you buy a new car, whatever brand it is, you've never noticed this car before, but suddenly when you've got it,
Yeah.
you look around and you realize, oh my gosh, there's loads of Fiats or Renaults or Fords or whatever. It's the same thing. Now you've
Mhm.
realized, gosh, I apologize a lot. Hopefully something in your head will start flagging up every time you do it, and just take a pause. Think, oh, I did it again. Right.
Mm.
I'm going to try not to. When I'm sending an email or a text, have I apologized there or given someone an out or whatever where I didn't want to? Wanting to
Yeah.
is you know, is clearly very different. And then all you'll do is you'll find a new way. You'll find, because what you said at the top is exactly right. So often we say the word sorry, and really it's a filler word.
Mm.
We don't mean it.
No.
We're not actually apologizing. We don't mean it. It's this, and we all have filler words. But this is one that we've put in place. Find a new filler word. I
Yeah.
don't know what it might be for you. It'll be different for all of us, but just find a
Well,
new filler word that isn't putting yourself down.
exactly. And I think, you know, it's interesting looking at it as finding a new filler word because it's also very uncomfortable to have a gap in conversation, isn't it? Or, you know,
Mm.
how do you round something off? And we do always try to fill in, and it is sometimes daunting to just be, actually, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to leave a gap there, or I'm just going to leave that hanging there. I don't need to say any more. And it potentially does come from that nervousness of having to keep talking and having to fill the conversation and make it comfortable for everybody else.
Yeah.
It's not just for us. We feel a responsibility to make everybody else feel comfortable as well. And I think all of this kind of culture, it all ties in. It's that responsibility, whereas at the same time, we don't feel worthy of elevating ourselves. So I think there's something around that confidence and the acknowledgement that we do deserve certain things, or to be treated with respect, or we do deserve those things. So
of course, we're all just humans, yeah. And I think, understandably, like there always is, and you had a moment in the book with this where she's had a moment. She's like, right, I'm not going to put up with a man spreader, and overreacts. I think in society there's been a shift that way, as in it, and I think it is perhaps just starting to swing back again, where there was such great pushback against the idea of women putting themselves down, or thinking themselves as less than, and the pendulum swung really far the other way, where it was all about being a boss bitch and taking control and all that.
Yeah.
And really, that's great, but that, like any kind of movement, it always goes too far before it finds its balance. And you don't have to go from one extreme to the other, one extreme of always being meek and apologetic, to then, oh my God, I'm taking on the world, and don't you expect me to, all of that. Actually, it's just finding your new way. You're still you. You're still confident, and you can do it with your own personality. You don't have to take on another one.
And your own values, I think.
Yeah.
And if they are about being kind to other people whilst being strong, assertive, confident, then the boss bitch is not something we want to aspire to, is it? And I think that while we are in a shift, and many of us are still overly apologetic, I do think there is something that if we see another woman sticking her neck out and it seems like, oh, that really stands out as a bit, because we're not used to it, actually we shouldn't just think, well, that's wrong. We should think, actually, they are doing something for all of us here, so we need to get behind her and we need to lift her up, as opposed to feeling envious that we couldn't do it, or thinking that it's wrong because it's not the norm, because it is a movement. And I think, the boss bitch idea will be diminished if we all stand together and if we all support one another, because we won't need to be fighting each other. We'll be lifting each other, which is exactly what we need to do.
I love it. That's so great. You're so right. Where can people find you? If they want to track you down on social media and follow you because they've loved what you've said, where can they find you?
God, I'm all over social media, and I'm not going to apologise for that. I'm an author, I have to be. But yeah, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Lucy Nichol, Lucy E. Nichol. I said that very quickly. And I have a Facebook page, Lucy Nichol Author, as well. So I'm always chatting about like women's stuff and books and music and nostalgia. They're my things. So yeah, I think my latest TikTok actually was celebrating the fact that I had my first good night's sleep in as long as I can remember as a perimenopausal woman last night. So I'm feeling pretty good today.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you know, you've made me think that is something I need to do a conversation on, because I run a Facebook group alongside this. So this is public and goes out to the world, but I have a private Facebook group that's for women only, so we can talk about the stuff that women want to talk about. And sleep in perimenopause is coming up time and time again, and I know a good sleep expert, and you've reminded me. I'm going to give her a little nudge to see if I can get her on, and I'll tag you in so you can have a look at it and see what you need to do.
Yes. I think I absolutely need that. I think my good sleep is probably because I'm at the end of my period. That's all I can think it is. But yeah, since perimenopause started, not been
there we go.
Lots of sleeping in the spare room because of all the restless legs and fidgeting. So yeah, it's not good.
Oh, I'm gonna send you a few links to help you
Yes,
out with
thank
them.
you. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much for today. That was awesome. So
Thank
good.
you for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel so you never miss a single one. And if you want to join in the conversation, head over to Facebook to Andrea McLean, This Girl is on Fire private Facebook group, and I'll see you there.